All right, another podcast from the Michigan Institute of Athletics in Brighton, Michigan. It's going to be a stellar podcast today. Right before we get into it, we want to shout out VetLife. VetLife is a 501c3 nonprofit company. They're a company of veterans for veterans. Every veteran faces difficulties when they transition from active duty back to civilian life, and VetLife is there to ease that transition. To reach out to VetLife, you can do so through Instagram or Facebook, or check out their website at vetlifetoday.org. So without further ado, we'll get right into this episode here. I'm joined by Pancholi. We're going to have a killer story for you guys. This is a gentleman that is ultra successful now, but has experienced multiple different perspectives in life. He grew up in India and then made the transition to the American culture and has now, I'll let him tell his story without stealing any more thunder. So thank you for being with me here today. And for the people that don't know you, let's take it all the way back, where you were born, where you were raised, and let's just start to paint your story.
Awesome. Thank you, James, for the introduction. So just to correct you, I was born and raised in Dubai, United Arab Emirates. So my parents came to Dubai in '68 for business opportunities and work opportunities. And I was born a few years later in Dubai. And I grew up in Dubai, did my schooling in Dubai, and at the age of 18, once I graduated high school, I decided to pursue my further studies in the U.S. And I came to Boston for my undergrad and went to Leicester University and finished a degree in fine arts. It was very interesting because I used to be an artist when I grew up, and I wanted to pursue that. And after finishing my degree in fine arts, I specialized in graphic design and advertising and started working in the World Wide Web arena, developing websites. And that's the time I started getting into more engineering and technical aspect of the web. And then I met a few radiologists from Johns Hopkins who approached me to pursue a venture in telemedicine for teleradiology. It was very interesting, and I had no idea what that is. But I was like, it's an opportunity, and when opportunity knocks at your door, you have to open it and take it. Otherwise, it'll go to the next door.
100%.
So, I came together with those radiologists, very bright radiologists, and we formed a company, and it became one of the top 5 companies in the country. And it started in 2001, and in 2005, we were servicing about 72 hospitals in 18 states, and reading all kind of images, MRIs, CTs, X-rays. Now, for people who are hearing, telehealth, telemedicine basically is a virtual visit by a physician who sees patients remotely. That's what it is, using audio-video technology.
I mean, nowadays everybody knows Zoom, right? It's basically you were doing Zoom consultations way before it was the popularity that it is now, right?
Absolutely. So that company grew pretty fast, pretty rapidly, and that was sold to a publicly traded company in 2005, and thereafter I still wanted to stay in telemedicine because that's what I had learned over the 4-year period. So we started venturing into pediatric teleradiology. We raised some money from the market, and we started a company in 2006, which became the nation's first company to do pediatric teleradiology 24/7, 365 days. It was a little challenging in the beginning, but we were able to get some good pediatric fellowship-trained radiologists to come on board. And over a period of 6 years, we grew rapidly, servicing 40-plus children's hospitals in about 13 states.
I mean, it makes sense. You're filling a gap that was there. There was a void in that market. And imagine 24/7. I didn't even know that existed. I couldn't imagine at 3 a.m. you really need to be able to contact someone. And you now brought a platform for society where people can reach out at any time of day and know that they're going to be taken care of. That's huge. And you were way ahead of your time.
Yeah, it was very interesting, and we were very blessed to be in that time and in that position. And we had some very good providers who joined our board. for serving these patients. And in about 7 years, excuse me, in about 7 years, we were seeing close to, I would say, 20 to 30,000 patients a month, and it was going rapidly. So in about 2013, I sold that company to a private equity company, and started to see what I would do next in terms of telehealth and telemedicine. And telepsychiatry came along. It was very new, but it was much needed. The country was seeing a shortage of psychiatrists. It is today also an acute shortage. We have right now about, I would say, 50,000 psychiatrists in the country.
And I think, I mean, to be honest, I think mental health issues and problems have been on the rise. I mean, people are speaking about mental health, or at least it's in the public dialogue, way more than it's ever been in history. I mean, just maybe the changes in society and a lot of things that have taken place have pushed a lot of people to need that aspect of their life. Like just as much as you need to take care of your physical body, you have to take care of your mental state, So I think that it is an absolute, requirement of a healthy society to have a healthy mental health discussion and platform to serve people.
Absolutely, absolutely. What we begin to realize is that, if a patient or a person has a medical condition, and if you do not treat their mental condition, the underlying medical condition becomes worse. Like, for example, if a person has a chronic condition of diabetes or hypertension and they are depressed, they are not going to follow a diet plan or any treatment that you, as a physician, that you would offer them, because that needs to be addressed first. And this is costing the country billions of dollars right now. I think we're getting there. There are a lot of new technologies coming out. So in the telepsychiatry company right now, we are servicing community mental health centers, outpatient centers, and we are also doing a lot of tele-addiction work within that company. We just launched a new program last year for tele-addiction, and this is to help people with their addiction at the community level, and we're also working with the jail systems to help the inmates as well. And that program is something that I'm very interested in, and I'm trying to roll out a national platform for that. I'm working with a very good physicians on that.
You're triggering a lot of questions in my brain right now, and I'm super excited about this. There's something that I've always been extremely discouraged about in the medical industry here in this country, and it's almost like you're giving me a little bit of hope, and I'll explain what I mean. A lot of times I've felt discouraged in the way that I feel like our medical system in this country doesn't always go towards treating the real issue in someone's life. They don't try to fix the core problem. They just kind of like take care of the symptoms. Do you know what I'm saying? Like really, you just touched on it when you said truly this person he's badly diabetic, he's this, and this, but maybe depression is the actual source of this thing, and unresolved trauma or mental health issues that if they were to fix it at that level, they might make lifestyle changes that would drastically alter their diabetes, that would, I mean, without getting to, telling a fairy tale story, so many times I believe that if we cured people at the real problematic level, you would make system-wide changes. But I also look at that in the way that the pharmaceutical industry and the health industry is a business. And if they completely cure people, they are losing a customer, I suppose. But sitting here and discussing to you, it sounds like you're almost trying to create a platform where you can get to people on a deeper level and offer them treatment and alternate things other than, hey, take these pills for the rest of your life,
right,
and that's going to be your quality of life.
Right. I mean, we have to remember that we live in a pill-popping culture. What needs to happen is we need to develop comprehensive care models for all the treatment plans that we do. What I mean by that is, if you are diabetic, then we need to make sure that you have a coach that follows up with your diet plan, like a care coordinator that will look after your, what you eat. You need any extra help? Do you exercise? touch base with your
Almost like a life coach, really.
right, exactly. Like, even with the tele-addiction program that we do right now, typically people will provide you an addictionologist who will prescribe, some medication. What I believe is that we need to provide more, in the sense that we need to provide counseling, group therapy, peer support, someone who has gone through that journey. When you provide that kind of comprehensive care program, a care continuum, that is when you will see the results, the outcomes, not only for the patient, but for the healthcare in general. Because when we miss any of these steps, what you ultimately is happening is you are pushing that patient to go to the hospital in the ER. So you are basically affecting the admission and readmission. And that's where the costs are the highest in the country right now. So when you implement these kind of programs, you're making sure that the patient is getting the right outcome, the costs are low, and the access is there.
And really, you're almost taking on a proactive model for future things versus a reactive model.
Right, exactly, and that's why, over the years, I've been blessed with this opportunity of doing telemedicine. So now, when I look at telemedicine from a very macro level and micro level, I think the value is in developing a very comprehensive program, not just with a few functions and features.
I can almost picture a society where, imagine if just once a month or multiple times a month, even if you don't have an issue in your life, you have somebody that you can reach out to in the telehealth market where they see how life is going, they see how your body is going and your mindset is going, and how are you on top of your exercise and your nutrition. That could be an ever evolving sector of society where someone is there for you, so you don't feel alone. When you feel alone, right, you feel like you don't have answers, and you don't know what to do. That tends to not often do people make the right choices.
Right. And that's where the whole care coordination, care collaboration thing comes into play, where I think the CMS has been pushing this pretty hard for senior citizens. I think that it should be done for everybody.
100%.
So on that note, I have a pediatric telemedicine company. It's called Pediatric Telemedicine of America. It's a dedicated behavioral mental health company for kids. And we address in there issues like ADHD, depression for the kids. But within that, we are right now developing a strong program for autistic kids, where there's a huge need. And I collaborated with the Scott Center of Autism at the Florida Tech, where I'm an alumni. And we started looking at that program, and I again begin to realize that it's again very traditional methods that's been done for the last 30 years. And in my analysis, what we found out is that we could probably do it better, again, giving a whole comprehensive model. So what we have done is, instead of providing just a regular technician or a counselor to you who will just come and see the kid for 20, 30 hours a week, does not produce the outcome we are looking for, unless you provide a more comprehensive care model. So what we have done is we have now collaborated with more providers, and we have made a program where we are including a behavior analyst, a pediatric psychiatrist, a pediatric neurologist, a pediatric care coordinator, and LCSW. That's the team that is going to now.
What is LCSW?
A licensed clinical social worker. And it's like a counselor therapist. So this team will now look out for the kid and also the caregiver, the parent, because we believe that, the kid needs attention, but so does the parents.
100%. A lot of the times, and hopefully this doesn't offend anybody, a lot of times it's not even the kid's fault. A lot of the times the environment at home and the way that things are in that child's life directly affects, not in cases of, autistic,
Right.
For sure, it could still amplify the problems if the conditions at home were not good,
Right.
But you really need a comprehensive program that takes into all, it's just like in science. You have to take all variables into effect and then figure out what is the best solution looking at all the given variables, instead of having like blinders on and just saying like, let's just focus on this area.
Right.
As you described it, it's almost the same way Everything in my world is mixed martial arts. If I was going to train a mixed martial arts fighter, if I only focused on their boxing and I said, well, I know they need work here, and I just focus on boxing, but I don't address that they're not a great wrestler, they need jiu-jitsu, they're not in excellent condition, they don't take care of their mental state, they don't have a good nutritional plan or an athletic development program. Even if I was the best boxing coach on earth, my person will not be set up for success in the sport because I've left everything else off the table. It's like, you have to have a complete almost pie chart where, yes, we are doing a great job here, but we need to hit each aspect of this problem.
Right, absolutely.
I love it, man.
Absolutely. For the autistic kid, it's even more because we found out that the parent needs counseling as well. There is a high rate of divorce. There is very low life expectancy when it comes to these caregivers because they don't take care of themselves. And that's where the counseling and therapy once a week really helps the caregiver and ultimately the patient as well.
Yeah, there's no more love in the world between like a mother and her child or a father and his child. So when you are in a situation like that, like you are giving 1,000% of yourself in any way you can to someone else, which you don't even think about for a second. Of course you'll want to do that, but you need to know you need to address your own needs. Because if you get to the point where you can no longer function in a healthy way, his care is going to suffer, or her care is going to suffer. Man, I am loving this. This is really something that is needed. And it's something that I think you could sell to people in a simple conversation. Because no one would hear these words and not say like, yes, this is something that a healthy society should have in place so that we all live better, more successful lives.
Right. The good news about telehealth, telemedicine is that, it has a bipartisan support. The money is there.
Thank God.
The money is there. It's a matter of educating the stakeholders and the shareholders, and get their buy-in. Once you do that, I think you can definitely see the results.
Well, think about this. Anyone that's listening to this podcast, do you want to call your doctor's office right now, make an appointment, figure out you can't get in for 8 weeks, and then go sit in an office, and then maybe they do or do not address the problem that you're having? Or would you rather have it so that you have a whole team dedicated to you that can be done virtually? Which sounds better? You know what I mean? Like, I think as times change, we have to change. And you're solving a lot of problems that I think that some people didn't even know that we had if they weren't in that situation. If you live a healthy life, you're successful, you don't struggle with mental health issues, you may not realize how many people's lives are being plagued by these things.
Right.
You know what I mean? So we need to bring that conversation forward and present solutions.
Absolutely. With and moving forward a little bit, going off the telehealth a little bit, I recently ventured into home care, and we now have 2 home care companies providing services for the senior citizens. But over there, the idea is to introduce virtual care and some of the other technologies like remote patient monitoring for these seniors, ultimately helping them with the COVID situation and reducing the hospital admission and readmission. So that is something, I just feel that there are a lot of specialties within healthcare that could, leverage and benefit from telemedicine, and having that perspective and the knowledge of different specialties, helps to develop better workflows and models. I also have a teleophthalmology project and initiative that we do for preterm babies in NICUs, where we take the images of their eyes and we read the screens and provide the reports. Now this is something it's very subspecialized play, but this service also is very needed because in the country you have shortage of retinal surgeons, pediatric retinal surgeons. By providing this service, you are helping the hospital and that kid, because when a kid is born at 31 weeks gestation and under 1,500 grams, that's the criteria, you have about 12 weeks of window to avoid blindness. And this kind of screening is very helpful. So that is an initiative that we are working on as well. So there is a lot of things going on in general in telehealth and telemedicine. I'm pretty excited because doing this for the last 18 years, I did not see much traction or critical mass as I was expecting. But the COVID definitely got the genie out of the box.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, COVID has restructured how we live life in this country.
Right.
People, I think more people are going to be working remote, not just now, probably permanently. There's companies realizing we don't need to have this brick and mortar location. Why are we going to pay this massive lease and this overhead and these utility bills when we can just send everything to your home? Like, don't leave your home. You'll get your stuff. Society is going to shift to some degree. You know what I mean? And I'm sure there's going to be a pushback to some degree where people love community. People love coming together and doing things. So there will be a give and take in this experience. Sure. But you're almost in the perfect time and place. You know, you're the guy that has solutions for the modern problems that we're facing. And it sounds like, as you've told me more on this podcast, how many companies are you currently invested in? Or did you found, I mean, you really have like, your portfolio is unbelievable as I'm sitting here. I had no idea. Josh had only told me, hey, he's, pretty heavy into the telehealth division, but I'll let you tell his story. It sounds like you have a multitude of platforms that you're bringing to the table.
Right. And those are needed because I think, like I said, if once you provide that comprehensive medical supply chain kind of a model where everything is all-inclusive, which I always call a care continuum, that is going to produce the result we want, the outcome we need. And that's where I think we are working. And, it's interesting that there are so many projects that you can pursue these days. We're trying to see what all we can do. But mental health, behavioral mental health is at the top right now. We are trying to create models not only for the adults, but my main thing is for the kids as well, because that's the future. And
you have kids of your own?
I have 3 kids, very blessed, great family. So
let's talk about what you're doing with veterans, because, I mean, that's how we got introduced, and that's how we're sitting here today. VetLife sponsors the podcast. Josh reached out to me, and all I basically got was, hey, Paris is an absolute beast. You got to bring him on the podcast, but he is really trying to, be a forefront game changer in the veteran mental health market. Let's talk a little bit about that, because veteran suicides, it is an epidemic in itself, So let's talk about, how did you get involved with the veteran side, and what are you doing for that?
Sure. So last year, I got connected with Josh through a business friend of mine. And we started talking, and I had no idea about the veteran world until I met Josh. So we started talking, then we had a meeting with a few high-profile veterans, and I really began to understand the world of the veteran and got very interested in there. And I was really surprised to see that we have so many resources, and they are not utilized by the veterans. And what can we do to help? So that's when me and Josh started talking that can we develop a tele mental health program for the veterans, not only on the mental side, but also on the addiction side of things. And now we're looking at the home care models for senior veterans as well, mainly Vietnam. So yeah, I mean, we continue our discussions right now as a team, and we are hoping to do a pilot pretty soon. For the veterans. But we definitely are excited about that project.
That's massive. I mean, the amount of veterans in this country that they could use a service like that care continuum idea is huge. You know what I mean? And because a lot of these people, I hate to say it, this is not a dig at the military, but they go in very young. They're promised the world. They believe in their cause. They I would hope, have great intentions. They're going over, they think they're making great change. They're defending the people they love and their freedoms and that yada, yada, yada. And then they come back, and there's an extremely difficult transition to back to no, you're just a civilian now, get back into society, go get a career and be successful. And then they're kind of abandoned to some degree. So those people having a platform that they could reach to, or, programs like VetLife, programs like what you're talking about, can really, I think, help save a lot of lives, literally, from either falling into addictions or suicide or terrible patterns of behavior. So we have to create these changes so that not everyone will take advantage of them, but they have to be offered. They have to be there if people do need them. Right. You know what I mean? And because, like I said, before we had talked about COVID, we were talking about an opiate epidemic in this country. We were talking about veteran suicide. These are all things that need to be addressed. Still, COVID is just taking the spotlight. All of those are still there. And honestly, I bet you with the lockdowns and all these things, mental health has probably been even worse for a lot of people.
Oh, absolutely. We are seeing right now patients who were borderline, in depression, borderline in anxiety, and with the onset of COVID, they are completely diagnosed with depression now. And who are depressed, they are now acutely depressed. So definitely, it's tough times. But again, with tough times, there is hope. There are opportunities. And I want to make sure that some of these programs that we are developing help the veterans and the community at large.
So I want to talk a little bit about your personal life, because you started this podcast and you threw it to me real quick that you wanted to be an artist and you did graphic design, and that stuff is awesome, man. I love, if you walk around the gym, you've seen it. I've got graffiti on the walls. I love graphic design. I love art. I love things like that. So when you were a young man, before you became a business mogul that's crushing it, what avenue did you think that you might pursue, or what was that? Everybody has that connection in your heart. What did you feel? I don't want to skip over that.
Yeah, my dad was into I would say garment and clothing design, and I picked up some of that. But as a kid, starting in middle school, I was very interested in just arts and crafts and drawing and painting and stuff, and I continued doing that. And to the point that when I was in high school, I had a art show of my own with about 80 plus paintings in Dubai.
That is awesome.
In my high school, yeah. And at that point, I was like, I think I need to pursue a degree in art, and not realizing how I'm going to feed myself or whatever it is.
Just being young and passionate,
yeah,
right?
Exactly, right? Yeah. So I was like, okay. We should pursue that. And then I was like, I'll probably go to United States where there's a lot of art and stuff happening over there. So I'll probably go and pursue a degree over there. And I came to Boston, lived there for 14 years. Had a great time, learned a lot. And I will say this, that going from an artistic mind to learning technology to business has been very interesting, because when I look at my my artist self, I feel that, I can operate with both sides of the brain. I can see the higher level picture, and I can see at the micro level as well. And that definitely gives you a lot of insight. I loved the whole training over here, where I had to learn art history, world civilization. I had to take advanced level English analytical classes, learn poetry, then do this art, then do photography. I think it was a great experience, So even today, with all these companies I have, I do have a design and advertising company as well, a small studio. Because, all these companies, come along, and now we need all these websites, we need all these marketing materials, how are you going to do this thing, So, we'll probably just have our own group that'll do it. So that really helps as well, and I do a lot of calligraphy as well. So even in my pastime today, I would take out time and do some drawing, very little painting, but do a lot of calligraphy. Teach my girls as well.
And I bet you it's actually been incredibly important in your business development, because you have an eye for what you want to create. Being an artist gives you vision. And when you have vision, you want to feel something with what you produce. You know what I mean? You don't want to just slap a word on a piece of paper. You care about how that word looks. You care about how it fits into the, how the image represents the brand and things like that. Because artists have vision. I love that. Like Steve Jobs having vision and caring about the exact dimensions of things. And, if you've ever watched the movie, no, don't use that shark photo, use this shark photo. To someone that is not an artist, that it doesn't even register. Why would you care the difference there? Why do you need a different font? That one says the same word as yours does. But being an artist, being fueled by passion in general is something that I think if everyone experienced what it's like to wake up in the morning and have a dream or passion, it makes life so much better. And now that passion will never die in you. You're always going to have that same I need to bring my vision to life, not just be successful. How do we really do it the right way? So I knew that was a huge part of the man that you are today, is still part of the passionate guy that you were.
I agree. the art thing was definitely something that fueled a lot of these things. Even today, when we develop the softwares or the website, I'm deeply involved with the user interface and how certain things will look. Even at home, like we were just buying a dining table, and I was like, it's got to be this way. I mean, I'm a big fan of Picasso. Love contemporary art. My wife, Shanaz, she also likes contemporary art. And just the look and feel. So we try to put a lot of time and effort, but especially me, I like to see everything is like just very artistic and very prim and proper.
I mean, and really, if you think about it, it's deeply tied into what we are as human beings. When something gives you a feeling, that is a part of your limbic system, and your limbic system drives your actions in life. So when you can produce a feeling out of something that you created, it just is like, it's almost fuel for the tank to go create more.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and some people don't experience that, but we are all almost, psychology would say that we're driven by the way that we feel, not by the way that we think. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's not your conscious brain. It's that big elephant that's going, no, go this way.
Right.
It's the dream that's whispering in your ear. So I love that. I love other people that have that type of, I call it like a pull from their heart. Like, it's not even your brain that knows that that's the right table. There's something that feels right about this other choice.
Absolutely, and and that's what I constantly think about new projects, and that keeps me like up at night as well. I'm like I need to get this thing done this week. Like this is an interesting model, interesting idea. And over the years, like I said, I have come to work with some great teams. I have great people who I work with in all these ventures, and I like to recognize my strengths and weaknesses. I consider myself an inch wide, mile wide, and inch deep, and the people around me are inch wide and mile deep. They have the expertise. I know where I can capitalize on my strength, and where
you have the vision, you have the passion, but you
right.
also know where to say, hey, you know what? But this is the guy that can help me build that.
Right. I won't say that I know everything, because you don't, and you cannot. Because learning is a good thing to do. I believe in that, lifelong learning. But you just need to understand your strengths and weaknesses.
And I found in most entrepreneurs, myself included, it's like a switch that can never be shut off. Do you find yourself the same way? Like, no matter what I do, I can't stop brainstorming the next chapter, the next thing, like how to get better. Like, it's almost like I'm never satisfied, but in a way that it's not depressing. Like, it might sound to people like, man, that must suck. No, it's in a way that like you just always want to see, if I've gotten to this level, what else can I do? Do you find that same?
Yeah, so here are some of the insights on that. I think first of all, we need to realize that we live in the most entrepreneurial minded country. That's number one. It means you can form a company in 24 hours. The system is built for that. The other thing is we need to pursue new ideas, like all the time. But again, ideas are a dime a dozen. We need to make sure that we can execute those ideas too. So again, having that mindset is also very important. Not to just think that, okay, this is a new idea, I'm going to go and pursue it, but understanding the idea as well, and then the execution piece of it as well. But yeah, I think I'm always like looking for new ideas and solutions to problems. That's what it is. When we look at all kinds of services we do in healthcare today, we're like okay, how can we bring solutions to that? And it's always a combination of things. But that's where I'm always looking for things like okay, how can we do this? How can we do that?
It's smart. It's really like the passion is fueling you to keep growing, but you're being extremely critical of like, but how do we do that? And you break it down, you're analytical, you break it into steps, and you say like, okay, if this is where we need to get, what does the roadmap to that place look like? What is the blueprint for that to make it successful?
Right.
You know what I mean? So you're able to, basically take what could just be that great idea that's stuck in somebody's brain, like you said. Ideas are a dime a dozen. There's probably people that have had a million good ideas in their life that have never executed them because they don't go to the next step of it, right? So let's talk a little bit about how do you find the right people and the right, because right now in society, we were talking a little bit before the podcast, and I don't want to dog on people, but work ethic, tying themselves to meaning. These things are starting to lack. How do you find the right people that you know this person fits our culture, our vision? How do you find those people? Do you seek them out? Do you just happen to find them? Like, how do you find the right people for your companies?
I think you have to definitely network, just be out there meeting people. I we have to we have to know that we are working in a time where we have four generations working in a work environment. So we have to first of all make sure that we are adaptable, we are very open, very tolerant, and and then like I said, you just talk to people, and I come across people who I can tell that if they were given the right platform, they would do really, really well. And that's again, many people look for the opportunities. Now, we spent about 40 years of our life working, and we are wired that way. That, okay, we just want to work for two things, promotion, so we can get raises, and work hard and efficiently so we don't get fired. That keeps the rat race running. But there are people who I feel that they have that entrepreneurial DNA to make things happen. But again, you just need to continuously network, talk to people, connect with people. And these days we have all these platforms that you can connect with people easily than we had before. But again, I think it's talking to people, trying to spend time with them and trying to see, if they can share your vision. But it's a little difficult, because you want a more younger population to work with you, but these are the millennials and they have a different mindset. They want the top without the climb, and you are like, you got to put this effort into it, but they don't want to. So then you have to now go for the next generation to work with, who have their own comfort zones and their own mindset, and so you have to really put the people to come together and then create the right benefits for them and the right model for them, and then go from there. So it's not easy, it's challenging.
And you just hit on a major thing that a lot of my podcasts cover. Like, society's changed. Things have gotten easier. They've gotten more convenient than ever. So it's like leaders, entrepreneurs, managers, business owners are going to have to find ways to communicate with the next generation in a way that clicks with them, because the old model no longer works. You can't just say, you're going to work this hard for this many years and you may or may not be promoted if you do a great job. That doesn't work with the new kids.
Right.
If they don't feel tied into something, or if they don't feel appreciated, that's a huge thing. We just had two gentlemen, a father and a son, who are both multi-millionaire. The son is 28 years old. He drives a Lamborghini up here in the summer and takes my jiu-jitsu classes. But he's been talking about, like, with the future generation, you have to make them realize that they're valued, they're appreciated, that their effort makes a direct difference to the company, and that they're representing the company to some level. Sure. Because otherwise they're going to do I hate to say it, but the bare minimum to get their paycheck, to go do what they actually want to do. Right. You know what I mean? So I think the people at the top, like you and many others, need to realize you got to change the script a little bit. You got to figure out, like, how do we connect with these young kids? And as a father of, you said you have a gentleman in his 20s. You have a son that is 10, and then you have did you say a daughter that's...
A daughter who's 10 and daughter who's 19.
Okay, daughter 10, daughter 19. Mm-hmm. So you're seeing the different levels of the children right now. Mm-hmm. So your 10-year-old is growing up in the COVID world, mm-hmm. but your 20-year-old is probably trying to, climb through the corporate ladder. As a father, what has it been like? Because you grew up in Dubai, you came to this culture, you found a land of opportunity that many people are promised, and you've crushed it. You've hit home runs. You're extremely successful by all views of society. What is it like as a father to try to create the same grit and same character that you had to develop in your children, who are very fortunate? I mean, they're growing up in a very affluent family, so they don't face the same challenges that you probably face living in Boston pursuing art.
Yeah, I mean, it's been interesting and challenging. We definitely, as parents and as family, have kept pretty strict guidelines with our kids that to earn something or to get something, they will have to do something. about it. Not just if you want, like my son, when he came to me in middle school that I want a PlayStation, I was like, sure, why don't you, excuse me, do internship for 2 months at the office and I'll get you a PlayStation. And he did that. And I think that's the way we should probably do it.
It's character building right there.
Character building, yeah, exactly, to make them understand that, everything is what you have, be thankful for that, shows gratitude, but realize that others do not have that. This country, and when you look at outside this country, people do not have what we have today over here. So the kids need to realize that they need to be very appreciative and very thankful. So, it's a little challenging. You want to give them everything, as a parent, but then we also try to make sure that they respect, they do the right things in their life, and then they carry forward, they share with other people as well.
A little bit of tough love, man. You need to give them a little bit of tough love, because if you just give unconditional all the time, you can meet any of their needs, right? Sure. But if you just effortlessly do that, like if you're an 18-year-old kid and you get gifted a Porsche on your 18-year-old birthday, you don't have any appreciation for that car. In 4 weeks, it's just whatever. That's my car.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, when my son was like, my daughter, she's like, wow, Dad, it'll be nice to drive the same car you have. Like, I'm like, sure, but I started with the Toyota Corolla, which was an $800 car, and to get to a $120,000 car I drive today, it's not that been easy. It's been it's been like maybe five cars. After 5 cars, so I'm like, it takes a while. It takes a while.
When you just spoke not long ago about that journey, it's like you had to go through the climb. Mm-hmm. Yes, you're here now, but you didn't just jump to the top, right? Same thing. I had an $800 Dodge Neon as my first car. It was so bad. It was like falling apart. But you know what that does now? I have a supercharged Mustang Cobra. I appreciate that car.
Right, of course.
It means a lot to me. You know what I mean? Because every time I get in that, I've been in other vehicles. I remember... You know what I mean? I remember that thing. So it's very hard, I think, to create that type of character without having some tough love and having some standards. I love what you just said about, when I got my son a PlayStation, which I could have done like this, but I said, but you're going to put in something for that. Mm-hmm. And then the spirit of gratitude, if more people were grateful, whatever standard of life you're at, when you carry gratitude, it makes you open to the next things. It makes you excited for the next thing. Instead of like, why don't I have this now? You don't want to live in that energy. It's just not good.
Right. One of the companies, I recently partnered with a few veterans, is a mental wellness platform for resiliency training. And in there, there's a very strong emphasis on gratitude. And we see that how it can change a person. So yeah, we definitely emphasize on that, to the point that we should have a gratitude journal, that you write into. It's just, especially in these times, I think it's very important to do that.
Well, what it does? It keeps perspective, because your perspective can get altered.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, again, like as an immigrant who come to this country and we see the opportunity, obviously, kids growing over here will not, but that's okay. As long as they are hardworking, they do the right things, it's okay. But I encourage the youth to take advantage of what we have today. Get good mentors in place. Education, definitely. There is no excuse or compromise for that. We got to have that. That's part of our conditions with our kids. That if you want to be part of the will, you have to educate yourself. That's very, very important.
100%. Just the ability to communicate with people is massive. There's a lot of people out there that have not worked on their communication skills, and they can't articulate an idea to you in a way that makes you go, wow, this is really intelligent. This might be worth looking into. Your communication skills are directly going to affect how far you go in life, whether in the corporate field or in many fields. That comes with education. That comes with reading books. That comes with taking the time to learn a new subject that you are not educated about, and wanting to do those things. You know what I mean? Like, you should almost crave information. It doesn't have to be information that you're told, like, because sometimes people will struggle in school And, it's because they're not really tied into the subject. But if you find yourself on a daily basis or a weekly basis not seeking new information, you are limiting your own growth because it's there. Like at the tip of our fingers, you could learn almost any subject in the world. If I decided tomorrow I'd like to learn about graphic design more, the information is there.
Right. And that's what I've been very thankful for with the art degree and the exposure I got in Boston, just learning all these different aspects of like fine arts and drawing classes, pottery, woodworking, photography. I mean, it just gives you such a broad perspective and horizon in general, and then you go into these other fields. It all like comes together, and then you travel. I encourage my kids and everybody to travel a lot too, because that's when you meet all kinds of people. And we being from Dubai, and now my parents are retired and they're in India, so we have to visit both the places. So when we took our kids to India a few years ago, they were all like so shocked and surprised, because when they go to Dubai, it's all luxury and everything is there. But when they go to India, they just started seeing that poverty and how people live over there. And I was like, it's good for you to see this thing, because then you would appreciate more what you have. And I think it has worked.
Yeah, it fixes perspective. It makes them take a step back and go, I need to be grateful. I'm very blessed. You know what I mean? And because I'm blessed, I should work hard. And I should work to help other people have that same, blessing in their life.
Right.
100%.
Right. And, I think we are the product of our environment. So I think it's very important to create the right environment around you as well. Like people say, like, that there is the right time, right opportunity you get, comes along. But I feel that you can always surround yourself with the right kind of people that will automatically create the right pace and right time for you.
Without a doubt. I mean, how many times have parents pushed into you forever that the one kid that they could see was constant trouble, even though it's your friend, they're trying to pull you away from the old like birds of a feather, that if you are surrounded by people that are not trying to grow, they're not trying to learn things, they're not trying to evolve in this life, they're not trying to make something of themselves, it's going to slowly get to you. It's like an infectious energy. As much as if you surround yourself with dreamers and leaders and visionaries, that energy is infectious. So you have to figure out, like, what energy would you like to be around and make sure that you're pursuing the right one. I don't want to go on this too much further, but you come from Dubai, and the UFC recently has been having a ton of events in Dubai. I don't know if you know that. They call it Fight Island. It's actually right off Dubai. So we have athletes in the UFC, and I corner many fighters in the UFC. So I'm super excited that I hope that one of my athletes is going to be getting booked over there, because I've never been to Dubai, and it's one of my places on my checklist I'd like to visit.
We have to go together.
Man, 100%. If we get booked an athlete in Dubai, please come. We'll get you tickets to come to the event. And it's someplace I've always wanted to see, because I've seen pictures. I have friends that have gone. It is unbelievable of a place.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's different than when I was growing up. I was there in December, by the way. Me and my wife, we went to see some family over there. But yeah, I mean, when I was growing up, it was more like Scottsdale, Arizona. Just decent, nice. But after I came here in the mid '90s, it became like Disneyland for adults.
Yeah, what caused the mega boom in Dubai? Because now it is known as like a mecca to travel to.
Well, I think the monarchy decided that we need to do more with tourism, and they're very broad-minded, liberal, and the whole tourism boom came around, and that led to this whole progress and the excitement they have over there right now.
Got it. Yeah, Dubai is a place that there's no one that I know that wouldn't like to visit Dubai. So like I said, I'm looking forward to it. I'll definitely be over there at some point in the near future. If we get an athlete booked, I'll be reaching out to you and saying, all right, come on, Paris, come on over and let's be a part of the event.
It's home.
That's awesome.
It's home for me.
So I guess just the last thing that I want to talk about before we wrap up the podcast is I want to talk about your routine. Like, how do you keep your mental health in check? How do you keep your body in check? How do you find the time to exercise? Do you write your goals down? Like most entrepreneurs I've ever met, they keep like checklists or they write things down. What is your weekly or monthly routine to keep you on the right path look like?
So, I definitely maintain a task list. Gym is very important for me. I'm usually 6 days in the gym. That I will not compromise. Um, I think the way I do this is like, I have my task list. I get up in the morning. I'll do some basic meditation and stuff, and then I will just get on to work until like afternoon, and then I go to the gym, and then I come back and I again start working, and I just go until like 8 or 9 in the evening. But it's around the clock, just going back and forth, back and forth. And again, when you have a good team, around you, it becomes a little easier, than you doing everything by yourself.
100%. And to be honest with you, I know so many people that use the excuse, I can't find the time, I don't have the time to like take care of themselves, whether it's the gym or yoga or meditation or anything that would be very good for you, which would probably bring more energy into your life. A lot of people use that excuse like, I don't have the time. It's just really, in my opinion, most people just do not take it as a point to structure their life with discipline and consistency to make something. You just said it right on the thing. You said, I'm not compromising about that. I could tell in your suit, you got some triceps in there. Like you take care of yourself, and you're about to be 50, right? I mean, you're coming up mid 40s.
49.
And yet you're still saying, you know what? I'm going to be in the gym. I'm going to be taking care of my body. I'm going to take care of my mind, because then I am fueled to a higher degree to be more successful in everything else that I do. Right. So a lot of people, I think, that have goals and have dreams, like you can't compromise on yourself.
Right.
When you compromise on yourself and you refuse to put yourself first, you're already behind the 8 ball. You're not... you're just not at a place to have a great platform to be like, now I'm going to go out and give this energy to the world.
Right. I think it's very important. Self-care is very important these days. There's a lot of emphasis for that right now. Without going too much into the whole world of exercise and stuff, I always tell people one thing, that your waistline is your lifeline. Simple as that. Everything starts over there. All your diseases, everything else. For me, like gym, mentally it keeps me in check, and it just gives me a lot of confidence and energy in general. So that's got to be there. Meditation and exercise.
100%. I mean, and confidence spills over into everything.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't feel good about the way that you're living and the way that you look and your representation of yourself, your confidence is going to get shakier.
Right.
And if your confidence falters, then all of a sudden you don't give 100% in the next thing you do. You give 85%, and then that spills over into something else, and then it's like a domino effect.
Right.
Whereas if you go all the way back to the beginning, you say, I got to take care of me first, because the world needs the best version of me. One of my favorite quotes is, the greatest gift that you have to give is that of your own personal transformation. And that's the idea, is if you show up at your best, you are going to give your best to the world, which then is going to give back to you.
I agree. Me and my wife are totally into exercise, and she's also a healthcare executive, very successful. But we like to just.
How about your children? Do your children make it a point to be?
I think I would say that my little one, 10-year-old, is totally on board. The other two are on and off, but they're there.
That's awesome. Well, man, Paris, it has been an honor having you in the studio today. I've absolutely loved discussing a lot of this stuff with you. I think you're bringing a lot of solutions for problems that many people in society may not have even been aware of, because they might not be the ones struggling. But you have an incredibly important task ahead of you to stay on this battle. And as society shifts, it's shifted in the perfect direction that we need these solutions moving forward. So I guess if there's anything else that you'd like to cover, we're going to have this moment forever on video. And then if not, we'll wrap this thing up.
No, I think thank you for the opportunity. And like I said, I think let's keep learning, let's keep working, and let's help people as much as we can.
100%. Well, thank you again, and it was a pleasure having you here.
Thank you.